Hello and welcome to the short board on Parshas Ve'era. I love it when two topics that I'm learning connect together. Daf Yomi in Pesachim, Daf Nun. So I have two thoughts from there, separate thoughts that will connect to two separate thoughts on one pasuk in Shemos Ve'era. So in Perek Vav, pasuk Chaf Vav. So the pasuk there says that this is who Aaron Moshe. This is Aaron and Moshe, that Hashem commanded them to take them out of Egypt to speak to Paro, and then the next pasuk it concludes with, and this is Moshe and Aaron. So the obvious question is, why do we mention that Aaron and Moshe's names twice? Of course, we're talking about the same people. So Rav Giftzer TZ'L, who born 1915, passed away in 2001. It's already 20 years almost. So he says something that's similar to what Rashi says, that it teaches us that throughout the process, they remained idealistic and they continued to do the Shema when they took care of the Bnei Yisrael. Rav Giftzer explains that all too often people start a project and they're doing this chesed or whatever it is, and they're doing Lishma very idealistic, but over time it develops and grows and committees get involved and egos get involved, and it loses some of that Lishma. So the pasuk here is telling us that throughout the beginning of the process of the Geula through the end, Moshe and Aaron were idealistic, the same people as they were the whole time. Actually, a few pasukim before, it says the Bnei Reuven and the Bnei Shimon to tell us that they were righteous throughout. That's why they're just like Bnei Reuven, that they hadn't changed for those two Shvatim, as well as Shevet Levy. And also earlier in Parsha Shemos, it says that Yosef Hayab Mitzrayim, that Yosef remained righteous in Mitzrayim. That's what it tells us from there. So this connects, I think, at least we can connect it to in Pesachim, that Rabbi Yehuda says that the Olam, a person should always try to do the mitzvos, even if they're not lishma, because mitosha lo lishma ba lishma, because over time they'll move from being not l'shem shemayim to l'shem shemayim. And so surely, if someone starts a project, we should be zochad that the person will continue or maintain it l'shem shemayim, or be able to, at least if they fall off the idealism a little bit, they will restore it to the Shema and continue to do so. And the Gemara also there talks about the difference between l'shem shemayim, l'shma, and not l'shma is that one who does the mitzvah l'shem shemayim, l'shma, so then there's zocha to siman bracha. They will benefit for many good signs, many good things. So moving on, we have Rav Moshe Feinstein comments on the same pasuk, and he notes that Rashi says who Aaron Moshe. It starts off Aaron first, and later on it includes Moshe va'Aaron, which is what we usually see, that Moshe's name is first. Why is Aaron's name mentioned before Moshe in this scenario? Rashi says to teach us that Sheshkulan, that they were equal, they were on the same level. Or Moshe asks, but they weren't the same level. Moshe was our greatest Jew. Moshe was the greatest Navi. Aaron was great, but he was on a lower lesson. This comes to teach us two things. Firstly, that if a gadol and a katan, a greater person and a minor person, are both needed for a project and they work together, then they're both considered equal, the greater one and the lesser one. Also, he says that it's about how much of your potential you achieve. If you do your full potential, then even if your absolute actions aren't as great as someone else's who does not achieve their full potential, the one that achieves more of the potential gets more credit than the one who has an absolute greatness. And since both Moshe and Aaron did the Tzivui Hashem fully, they achieved their potential for this mitzvah, therefore they're both considered equal, and therefore sometimes we have Aaron first, and most of the time we have Moshe first. And this too connects to the Gemara in Pesachim, because we have the case of Yossi, the son of Rabbi Yeshua, who was comatose. He had a near-death experience. He went up to the Olam Haba. He went up to the Shemayim, and his father asked him, "What did you see there?" So Yosef told his father, "I saw Olam Hafuch. I saw this inverted world, this upside-down world. That the people we thought were chashav, they were on the lower level. The people that everyone had disdain for, they were on higher level." And Rabbi Yeshua said, "Well, you saw the clear world, the real world, because it's telling us about the person's potential." And even in that world, what Yosef saw was that The righteous people, the Talmidei Chachamim, such as his father Rabbi Yoshua, they were elevated, but there were some people who we viewed as being less than them because they didn't achieve as much, who were actually considered higher than the Talmidei Chachamim who did great things on an absolute basis. But in that world that the emes is known, it's about Hashem judges us by the potential, which is Moshe and Aaron, as we said, they both achieved their potential, therefore they were considered the same. So from these two things, we should be zocha to strive to fulfill our potential, whatever absolute level that may be. We should try to get it to be lishma, dedicated to Hashem, l'shem shemayim, do it idealistically, not for self-benefit, and then we should merit to see the simanei bracha, the good things, as well as be evaluated in the real world, the true world, that we too are on the high level, that we are the Elyonim. So like, share, and subscribe. Thank you for listening. Have a wonderful week and a wonderful Shabbos.